Welcome back to Before the Bell with Nick Kalikas. I'm Frank Trigg. UFC Fight Night 84, Silva and Bisping coming up. I know obviously everyone's talking about the new McGregor and Diaz fight is the hot topic. But remember, guys, there is a fight this weekend where the Count Michael Bisping is fighting against Anderson Silva. Is Anderson Silva back again? Is he worth it? Coming back again now that he's off drugs? Like, is his legacy ruined? There was an article actually earlier on MMA Oddsbreaker early in the week talking about him and Royce Gracie, how the legacies might be tarnished because of the failed drug test. All this has to be worked out. But first, we got to talk about the co-main event, Leatis and Mousasi. Like, this one is really snuck underneath the radar. This whole card is really snuck underneath the radar. And to me, the co-main event, Nick, is actually a really good fight. But the line has got to be a little bit out of whack for it as well, correct?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, Musasi definitely a decent favorite, deserving to be really in most cases because he's performed amazing. I mean, last fight, obviously he was upset. He was beat a little bit. It was kind of a I don't want to say a flukish thing because he was doing really well against Uriah Hall, but he got caught. He got knocked out. That was a beautiful kick from Uriah Hall. He followed up and did what he had to do there. So against Lightus, I mean, he is going to be a solid favorite because of the way they stylistically match up. But Lightus is an excellent fighter as well. I mean, he was on a heck of a roll, of course, before his last loss. So these guys are both coming off losses. They want to get back on track because they have a lot of momentum going before their recent loss, and they're two of the best middleweights in the world. There's no doubt about it. So for right now, Musasi's minus 325, Lightus is plus 265. So a solid line for what should be a fairly competitive matchup.
So I see Mousasi obviously completely dominating on the feet. And then as of late, he's been really, really a lot better than people give him credit for on the ground. But I'm still not sure how I see him as a ground fighter. Yeah, he submitted Mark Munoz, but really it was a pass his prime Mark Munoz that he caught. It's not like he's been really, he's been doing better on the ground, but he's not like the guy you're going to go to, oh, he's a Damian Maia on the ground. Like, he's just not that kind of guy. But how do you see this fight playing out? Do you see it being a total stand-up war, and that's how he's going to end up winning it? Do you see there going to be a lot of up and down action?
He's going to probably want to keep it on the feet, of course. And then he does have the edge on the feet a little bit. He could be a little bit more active, even though Lightus' stand-up game is getting better. I mean, the guy does have some power to go along with it. But, I mean, on the feet, that's where Musasi definitely has a significant edge. I mean, the guy's a special type of striker. He has been wrestling. He's been getting some takedowns. He's been working on his ground game, and it's gotten better for sure. But it still doesn't compare with Lightus. So Lightus' special advantage or what he has more for him to win this fight is obviously his ground game. I mean, he's a BJJ black belt, a world-class black belt. So even though Musasi is pretty good on the ground, he's not really up to par with Lightus on the ground. I think he can hang in there and maybe not get submitted like he did against Jacare, but still, I mean, Lightus will control and win the ground battle if it does take place on the ground. But at the same time, on the feet, that's where Musasi can take control of that as well. I am a little worried though, man. I mean, Musasi getting clipped like that, getting knocked out like that. I mean, we've never seen that before, right?
No, like
So
his chin got tested and he fell apart. So this is the first time now, and we're seeing like, okay, we've seen it happen with other fighters. They get hit once. Every time they get touched, now they fall down. And then we've seen other fighters that they get touched, and then they get touched a ton after that first time they get knocked out, but they recovered from it, and they don't seem to have any ill effects. I wonder which way Masasi is going to go. Is he going to be the one now that every time he gets touched, he falls down, or the other way where he completely recovered from it? I don't know. It's
yeah,
tough to tell.
I agree with you completely, especially because he's been in so many great wars. He's one of these guys that have been around the sport for a long time. He's been in a lot of outstanding fights, and he's taken a beating throughout his career, even though he's dished out more punishment than he's taken. Still, I mean, that does take a toll on you, even if he's not specifically really old. I mean, he in MMA years again, he is a little bit older, so I'm not sure. And then Lightus is getting a little bit of power too. I mean, he does have a little bit more confidence. He's been landing on guys. He's been more effective recently in his fights as well. So, I mean, that's a little concern. I mean, normally I wouldn't say that Lightus even has a shot against Musasi on the feet, but after Musasi getting clipped, even though it was Uriah Hall and a different type of striker, I mean, Lightus hits hard enough that maybe he can cause some problems on the feet as well. So it's a dangerous fight, even at the betting window. I mean, honestly, I really would like to say that Musasi is going to win this fight, but am I going to lay 325 on it? No way. I would not lay 325 on it.
So it's a bet the dog or pass.
Yeah, it's another better dog or pass situation, definitely. I mean, it's just there's no value really on Musasi at minus 325, even though I do think he probably wins this fight. Like I said, I think it's a 3-round fight. He should be able to keep it upright. He should be able to pick Lightus apart a little bit. But, I mean, the confidence level of laying actually 3-1 can't do it. So for me, it's more of a pass, honestly, this one.
Okay, moving on to the main event with Bisping and Silva. Obviously, Silva has to be the favorite coming into it. Bisping's got to be the underdog. But really, what Silva are we getting? I mean, and he from what I've seen, and Marco Morales, his boxing coach, is a buddy of mine. So I kind of follow Marco as well, and I see his differences in his training and what he's doing. That's like supposed to break the mold of what Anderson Silva does for his training wise, and he does a bunch of different unique things, which seems to be the lesson of 2016 is that everybody's got to do something unique to prove that they're the better. The reason why they're the champ is because they're doing something weird. Like I'm doing gymnastics and I'm doing fencing and I'm doing marathons, and that's the reason it's a whole new thing in MMA. But I've been watching along, and honestly, he looks athletic, he looks mobile, but I don't really see that crazy snap, that crazy fire like we used to see from Silva. Like I still don't think he may have recovered physically from the leg break, but I still think he's kind of gunshot when it comes to the leg break.
You got to be, I think. I know that I've heard that, when the leg recovers from an injury like that, actually the bone gets stronger. So in a way, he shouldn't have much fear, right? But at the same time, mentally, I mean, it's happened to you, right? So I think I would have a little bit of hesitation personally. I mean, going that route as well. So yeah, I think in the back of his mind, it is going to be there a little bit, even though he got another fight under his wing and, he came back against Diaz and was obviously he was okay. I don't think we saw the Anderson Silva in that fight that of old, of course. I mean, it was a competitive fight. He deserved to win that fight, but there's still, as you said, I'm not sure what we're going to get out of him. And of course, you mentioned that, he failed. Unfortunately, he had some tests go wrong for him, and with the steroid allegations and all that stuff going on there as well. So I don't know. We really don't know. And he is an aging veteran, like you said. He was the man at one point, pound for pound. No, there's no question about it. He was the best fighter on the planet. Now, I'm not sure what we're going to get with him. So Bisping's motivated. If you're Michael Bisping, this is where you want Anderson Silva, because let's face it, a few years ago, this was a terrible fight for Bisping. I don't think he had much of a chance at all. Right now, according to the odds, actually, I'll check 5 times, and it's actually minus 310 right now as we speak. For Silva, the Bisping is plus 255. So the line would have been probably double that, if not more, a couple years back as well, right? I mean, with the dominant Anderson Silva. So Bisping actually has a shot at this fight. I mean,
and let's not forget it's in London, which doesn't really mean much to most folks. Like it really doesn't mean that much. Home or away doesn't matter. You still have to perform inside that cage. The fans can yell and scream, or they can boo and hiss, and it's still not going to affect the fighter that much. But Bisping, I'm watching photos of him running around the taxi cabs with his picture on it. He's running around seeing some of his old haunts, seeing all of his old friends. Like he has really, really embraced this whole thing of being here with Bisping or with Silva in this fight and being in London. So he's got a little bit more mental acuity, I think, for the fight, where he's a little bit more hyped into the fight, which will make a difference inside that cage. But it's at the end of the day, it's still Anderson Silva. Like at the end of it, no matter how you chop it down, yeah, he might be older. Yes, had the leg injury. Has he recovered mentally? Has he recovered emotionally? What's his thought process? Where is he now with the drug allegations on his back? It's still effing Anderson Silva. At the end of the day, it's Anderson Silva. So you kind of like, I don't know what to do with it. It's like, I think Silva wins, but the price, I'm really confident in Bisping. So I want to kind of put money on it, but I think a straight bet Silva's going to win this thing. But I'm willing to take the risk on Bisping, but I wasn't willing to take the risk on Leitis in the co-main.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, if I had to pick between Bisping or Leitis, I would probably rather go with Bisping too as well. I mean, right now, like I said, I mean, you could tell he's talking a little bit more confident right now. He believes that Anderson Silva is not the invincible Silva. I mean, we've all seen a little bit of a decline with him, obviously. So, I mean, he had that crazy, like that Mike Tyson invincibility, right? Anderson Silva did not long ago. Everybody was kind of, before he even got in the cage, they've lost the fight because they were scared. They weren't themselves. They weren't going to be out there performing like they can because, I mean, they were intimidated. Let's face it. Now, a lot of people have lost that. Maybe that's, you can't underestimate the man because Anderson Silva still has power. He's not going to lose some of that power, but, still the fear is kind of gone. So he's got more confidence coming into this fight. Bisping's a heck of a point fighter as well. I mean, he's got a little bit underrated power. I mean, a lot of people don't expect Bisping to go out there and just floor people, knock people out with one punch, but he probably has a little bit more power than people give him credit for, I think. But at the same time, it's more of his point fighting style. I mean, he's very active. He's a smart fighter. He's got, obviously, he's worked on his wrestling a lot. He's got decent takedown defense as well. So he's become a pretty complete fighter, and it's hard to beat him on the cards, honestly. And at times, Anderson Silva does seem to get a little tentative and maybe not throw as much as he should. So I think if it does hit the scorecards, which is a big if because both these guys got questionable chins, in both ways. If it does hit the scorecards, it's probably going to be pretty competitive. It'll be close. So that's why there's probably a little bit of value where the line is right now on Michael Bisping.
So once again this week we have a dog or pass situation in both the co-main event and the main event. But this main event for me is a lot tougher because I'm not really sure where Anderson is at, and I'm hoping he's back. It'd be great to have him back because the weight class can use a little boost again of him jumping in there. So it'd be nice to see him kind of be back, or at least part of the way back, and kind of see him make a run. But let's not forget, it'd be kind of nice to see Bisping make a run too. Like Bisping making a little jump in there would be great as well. So this whole thing is going to be very interesting to me this weekend. I can't wait to see this fight, or both fights. This entire card has actually been put together pretty well. How are you feeling about the card thus far that they have put together for this? Like as everything's panned out, and how you're looking at it from a betting standpoint, are you looking at these fights with a little bit of excitement? The entire card.
Yeah, definitely. When I was making the lines, I mean, we were talking about the main event, of co-main event, of course, here, but I mean, from top to bottom, when I was making some of these lines, there's a lot of close pick'em fights. I mean, that type of fights. As you get down the preliminary card and beyond, I mean, there's a lot of competitive matchups. It's really flip a coin type of fight. So there will be some exciting fights. There's going to be some controversy. There's going to be some finishes. There's going to be a little bit of everything. Now, there's not a lot of people talking about this card. I mean, obviously, people are looking forward now to McGregor versus Diaz and Holly Holm and Misha Tate that's coming up soon as well. I mean, that's what everybody's kind of talking about. But, I mean, from top to bottom, a lot of times when these cards kind of float under the radar and not much hype's around them, they deliver. I mean, they end up being outstanding cards. So I think that's probably going to be the case here, where maybe it's not going to get a ton of hype. Man, I can't believe I'm even saying that, right? Anderson Silva and a card not getting hype, he's a headliner. But, I mean, how things have changed the last couple of years, right, with that stuff. But that being said, I still think it's going to deliver in the card from top to bottom. There's definitely some spots probably on the preliminary card that has some more value because you don't have to lay 3-1 on a fight. There's some dog opportunities as well. So I like it. I mean, from top to bottom, this is definitely a great card, and I think it's going to pan out that way as well.
That's it for this week. And before the bell, make sure you check out MMAoddsbreaker.com for all your inside betting needs. I'm Frank Trigg. That's Nick Kalikas. We'll see you next week.